institutional wave is absolutely here, and Bitcoin is now not just a headline, it's not just something that is either talked about as a store of value or joked about as digital gold. Every country right now is taking a step forward to figure out how Bitcoin fits a part of their strategy in some capacity. From the national defense to a financial, whatever it may be, the biggest misconception is that Bitcoin is just a store of value. It's just digital gold. That was true in 2023. That was true in early 2024. That's no longer true today. Bitcoin is much more than a store of value.
For this podcast episode, we have picked one of the insightful sessions from the recent TEAMZ Summit in Tokyo, a place where Web3 developers, investors, entrepreneurs, and enthusiasts can gather, explore the latest trends, connect with global leaders, and discover business opportunities. This panel of industry leaders discussed the future of Bitcoin, its role as digital gold and integration into the financial system. So let us dive right in.
Hi everyone, hope that you are enjoying this beautiful afternoon and this amazing event. Thank you so much for joining us for this panel. I'm Asal, very honored to moderate this panel with this amazing panelists here. Just to make an intro about myself, I'm co-founder and CEO of Blocklogica Labs. We are an accelerator and fundraising hub based in Dubai, UAE. And we are working with different foundations, builders. But today we're mainly talking about the main symbol of our whole industry, Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has been called the digital gold for a long time now. But today we're going to discuss, has it really earned this title or is it still in the transition phase? So I would love to ask my friends to also give us a short introduction about themselves. Maybe Lingling, you can start, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Lingling. I'm the partner of TEAMZ Labs and Falcon Finance. So TEAMZ Labs is a Web3 investment firm. We have venture capital side and a liquid fund. We just launched our 250 million fund last month. We also a market maker helping projects provide liquidity on different values. So Falcon Finance is our newly launched stablecoin. It's a multi-asset yield-bearing synthetic dollar. So we are offering 50% to 40% estimated APY by leveraging our market-neutral trading strategies. So very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Dmitriy, please.
Hello everyone, really glad to be here today on this panel and visit Tokyo again. This is my second visit. The first one was 8 years ago, so big changes and same changes in crypto industry. So my name is Dmitriy Sheludko. I'm the CEO and the founder of Biconomy.com, cryptocurrency exchange. Right now we are ranked top 26 by market cap and CoinGecko. I joined crypto industry in 2012 and came from stock markets, and today we'll be glad to share my opinions about Bitcoin topic. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Ellicott. I'm the Executive Director of the Stacks Asia Foundation. For those who don't know Stacks, we were the original and very first Bitcoin layer to bring programmability and smart contracts to Bitcoin, allowing for this entire industry that we're going to be talking about today to flourish and emerge with applications leveraging Bitcoin's stability and security. We also continue to push the bounds with now being the fastest Bitcoin layer out there, and also have a bridged asset called SBTC, allows for Bitcoin in and Bitcoin out APY and returns as well. Up until recently, I was also the largest investor in the industry, investing in companies building on Bitcoin in the last 5 years. I'm excited here to talk today to how the industry has evolved since.
Amazing, thank you so much. Jumping into our discussion, let's start with Bitcoin and the traditional financial markets. As currently, governments have two different approaches towards Bitcoin. Some are positive about ETFs, some are positive about CBDCs or exploring CBDCs for a long time now, or some are more towards the derivatives. But considering all the regulation attention that is now on Bitcoin, I want to ask you, how realistic do you see the integration of Bitcoin in the traditional financial market? Many would say that Bitcoin is no longer a currency and it's turning more into a financial asset or financial asset class. So I would love to know, how do you see this? Do you think that this integration can happen smoothly, and how would it affect this traditional market? Lingling, please. My ladies first, so you're always first.
Thank you. I think, in a nutshell, it's very much realistic and it is happening. You can see from adoption perspective, last year, I think we had like more than 12 Bitcoin spot ETF approved. As of now, the AUM on this ETF, I think it's about probably 95 billion. And in terms of Bitcoin percentage, they are having probably more than 6% of total supply. Now we also see a lot of large listed companies allocating that Bitcoin into their balance sheet as part of the treasury management strategy. Microsoft, MicroStrategy, and Tesla as well, and all the big like banks, all the institutional players are looking for ways to get into Bitcoin exposure or ways to offer their clients Bitcoin exposure. But in terms of the pace and to what extent the Bitcoin going to be integrated into the financial system, they still depend on a lot of factors like regulatory, like technology, etc.
True. And Dmitry, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and when I think about it, we always need to look at the reality and sometimes jump to the past. So if I jump to the past and my last visit to Tokyo, I saw banners on Shibuya Metro Station, and during that time, we already saw good level of adoption and implementation of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies inside of Japanese economy and society. So, of course, 8 years passed right now, and we can see big changes, and I think Japan country is starting to be a driver in crypto economy for sure, and all our countries started to follow this example, and many companies worldwide started to also integrate and use Bitcoin as a reserve, as a digital asset hedge. With ETFs on the market, we can see what even stock market started to be more alive right now and more interesting for institutional and retail investors. And as a Biconomy.com exchange, we see a big wave of interest from institutionals during last years for hedging of Bitcoin for Web. And these institutionals and financial companies just want to hedge their funds and, for example, invest to S&P 500 on stock market and also hedge their funds for Bitcoin and make some reserve. So this is pretty good sign, and I can see where adoption and implementation of Bitcoin technologies and Bitcoin economy will continue and we will see rapid growth. Because right now we see many countries and political leaders suffered it hardly. We can see a great and interesting example of the United States with President Trump, who said we will make a reserve on cryptocurrencies. This giving Bitcoin and the whole world of crypto huge opportunities, and I think the future is very bright for crypto. I'm very optimistic always about crypto world. That's why I'm working here and will work here until this market exists. So I think we have more things ahead, and this is just the beginning.
Thank you so much. I'd love to also hear your take on it.
Yeah, so super quick, I think it's already here. Lingling already mentioned some of the big headlines that we saw in 2024. The launch of the ETFs, we saw a ton of development on the technical stack for both Bitcoin, the network, and then Bitcoin, the asset. We also had the beginning and emergence of Bitcoin staking that arose in August of last year, taking us from almost zero to over now 70-ish thousand BTC, so about 1.5% of market cap active and productive in just very few short months. Right now, we're seeing over 30 spot Bitcoin ETFs. There's one rumor that's going to be launching here in Japan as well. The institutional wave is absolutely here, and Bitcoin is now not just a headline. It's not just something that is either talked about as a store of value or joked about as digital gold. It is very much a portfolio allocation that all are looking at in some way. What's very unique about Bitcoin today in 2025, as opposed to a lot of last year and years before, is Bitcoin has now reached a point where it is an asset unlike any other thing. Anybody, no matter their asset allocation, their financial education, their technical education, where they are in the world, have a way to access this asset. They can do it through buying it on a central exchange, a decentralized exchange. They can buy it through an ETF. There's everything for anybody, no matter their age or their geography. There's no resistance anymore to entering, to having Bitcoin a part of your strategy. And we're seeing that very well accepted on the institutional side via the spot ETFs. As Lingling mentioned, we saw over 35 billion, almost 40 billion last year. We're now seeing that same number only a few months into the year right now. We've got almost 80 plus companies and rising that are putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet to make bigger headlines. I believe MetaPlanet today announced a multi-billion-dollar bond out to establish to buy more Bitcoin. And on the sovereign side, you have the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund taking a $500 million position in BlackRock's IBIT at the end of last year to begin this year. And we're seeing the conversation shift from not just a store of value, not just a headline, but how does this fit within our overall strategy, which will lead us into the next exciting era or around where Bitcoin goes from here.
Amazing, agreed completely. I also think that even though there might be probably some comments from people who are who we call the Bitcoin maxis, people who have been here because of the Bitcoin network, not the asset mainly, regarding all of this integration with the traditional financial system and also the attention that it takes from the regulation side. But I think that is the price that we need to pay to, as you said, remove that resistance and open the doors for the actual acceptance of this industry within the institutional investors, and that is obviously needed for the liquidity of the market. So moving to the next topic, I think volatility is the main barrier, which always is taken as a big barrier to actually see Bitcoin as gold, because some people might say that Bitcoin's rareness or scarcity is enough for it to be a store of value. But on the other hand, many would also say that Bitcoin is still not politically neutral. Bitcoin might still need lots of developments or improvements on the technical side, or needs more network effect. So I would love to know your take on it. Do you think that this volatility can exist forever? Will it end at some point? And if this volatility is going to stop at some point, what does it take to reach to that point? Maybe we can also start with you, Kyle, and then have some brief answers about it.
I get the hard question first. I think volatility will continue for an unknown amount of time. It's an asset that people are incredibly excited about. Liquidity is coming in and out of it. We now have these multiple different products and soon more products to come around fractionalization of Bitcoin ownership. And so I think we're going to continue to see this volatility. And some, again, still look at it as a store of value. Some look at it as a potential reserve currency. Some look at it as payments. So I think we're still trying to figure out what it can be or what it will be. And because of that, volatility will continue. Will it be continuing in these drastic rises and falls? I don't think that's going to be forever. I think right now, in general market conditions, as we sit here in the beginning of Q2 2025, everything's very volatile. We're in a very volatile market, whether it's public, private, or crypto, or otherwise. So I think we're going to be in that journey for a little bit. What is necessary for it to stabilize? I think we need to figure out what the future is going to be. Is it going to be set as a reserve currency? Is it going to be set as a financial instrument, as a version of digital gold that someone takes and holds to store that value truly? Or is it going to be a payment? Is it going to be a productive asset as well? A lot of the movement I'm starting to see now is taking it from a store of value into a productive asset. How can we take BTC and actually make it usable? Put it into applications, take loans, take 5 mortgages, put it into RWAs, whether that's treasuries or real estate, and maybe even earn a passive income off of it. I think right now we're in this very exciting time for Bitcoin to understand what its future is. We came out of a very experimental time from the last 4 years for development, which led to a lot of that volatility. There were a lot of headlines, there was a lot of geopolitical, there were a lot of macro that followed that as they end up being more correlated than many thought, including its correlation to the NASDAQ 100 in the US. I think now we're entering the next era of Bitcoin, which is surrounding productivity and utility, which I think will help to start to solidify where Bitcoin goes and help to reduce some of that bigger volatility that we see in the market.
Interesting. Since Kyle mentioned this, and that was actually one of the main questions I wanted to ask her too, I would love to ask this from you. All these geopolitical tensions that currently exist in our world, and especially different narratives such as the dollarization narratives or different political and geopolitical waves that are happening in the world, are to some degree in the positive side of maybe supporting our market and maybe making it more strong. But how do you see it, and do you think that actually Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can play a role in the geopolitical scene, and can they really help the countries, especially countries that are dealing with high inflation, sanctions, or volatile currencies? How do you see the relation of Bitcoin with the political scene? Dmitriy, I actually wanted to ask this one.
This is a very good question because I think during this year especially it started to be very hot because we see what the real world and the world economy started to be money polarized, and the United States roles here plays is really significant and plays a lot. So we see what right now some even economic wars started to happen, whereas there are two big players, the United States and China, and we started to compete with each other, and we see what the United States started to adopt crypto so much and even plan to make reserves in crypto. These geopolitical issues always have a good effect for Bitcoin and crypto itself, because during hard times, people start to use another tools, people start to hedge their funds and start to diversify their investments. So crypto is here, crypto always ready to help, and the governments can't ban or close these markets. So people always will use these opportunities, and even during the good times or hard times in the geopolitical games and situation in the world, the crypto economy always taking classes. This is what I see from all my experience. This time is really great, and this is a good and great opportunity for emerging markets to take a look into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency economy. We see great examples in Argentina, in Nigeria of such adoptions, and this is especially good and fast tool for especially emerging markets and countries to adopt these new technologies fast and use it in unstable situation when fiat currencies don't have any significant control and these countries have huge inflation. So this is a good and free protection tool for people to save their money, to send money to each other, and this problem actually also suitable for Japanese market. Again, I was here 8 years ago, I came now, so inflation also works here, and the price is almost double, I think, people can tell exactly. But anyway, any economy in the world, even the strongest one like Japanese, American or else, way can't fight with inflation. So money always will fiat money especially, they always will lose their value, and crypto always here, Bitcoin always here. Because during the time we see Bitcoin always only just grow and rising its value year by year. So this is a good tool to protect, and again, even good or bad situation in the world economy, this is really great and a good sign for crypto economy.
Thank you so much. And Lingling, I also want to ask you something that can be an extension of my previous questions. If you want to fast forward towards 2030, how do you see the role of Bitcoin? Everything said, do you see Bitcoin as maybe a reserve currency, maybe similar to gold, or maybe as a payment currency? How do you see the role of Bitcoin?
I think Bitcoin definitely going to have multiple roles, but as someone coming from traditional finance background, I definitely see Bitcoin as more alternative asset class for institutional investor to diversify their portfolio, because there's different factors, micro factors, different investor behaviors can impact the price of Bitcoin, different than stocks, different than commodities, than bonds. So by allocating certain portfolio into Bitcoin, you can enhance the portfolio performance.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think makes so much sense. And after all, going back to what we discussed already, we are already a part of a really volatile market, and it is obviously a result of many different factors, and many of them are still unknown when it comes to predicting the future, which is obviously not possible. But what is the most common misconception about the future of Bitcoin that you hear it from public and you want to solve it or you want to dispel? If you can briefly, each of us, give us one of these misconceptions, I think that would be really helpful. Kyle, I think we can start with you.
Yeah, if I could just touch on the geopolitical point for just a minute. One thing that I think is not talked about very often is both following the money and following the headlines. If you look at what has transpired in the last 3 months, and more particularly in the last 45 days, Bitcoin is ahead of the game when it comes to geopolitics, and it's not yet being on the negative, it's much more on the positive. Every country right now is taking a step forward to figure out how Bitcoin fits a part of their strategy in some capacity. From a national defense to a financial, whatever it may be, they're looking at Bitcoin and figuring out how to integrate it. If you look at the country of Pakistan, made huge announcements just about a week ago, embracing the industry. Look at the country that we're sitting in right now. Japan, and to Dmitriy's point, it was here 8 years ago, where the crypto industry was then to where it is today. The government here in Japan is pushing forward policy faster than I have ever seen in any case around the industry to do a full 180 and embrace crypto, stablecoins, and Bitcoin. You look at South Korea, it's just talked about on the panel before us, the same thing, opening and embracing, allowing institutions to start taking and making investments into crypto on their balance sheet and in general as well. So you're seeing this movement very fast. So from a geopolitical standpoint, it's already here and everyone's trying to figure out how it fits into their strategy overall. And then in terms of what's missing and where things go next for Bitcoin, the biggest misconception is that Bitcoin is just a store of value. It's just digital gold. That was true in 2023. That was true in early 2024. That's no longer true today. Bitcoin is much more than a store of value. It is an asset that can be productive. It is an asset that does have utility. It's an asset that you can go out and lend, borrow, and earn off of. You can actually earn a passive income. You can take a yield off of as well. There's plenty of opportunities, and you can enter into DeFi, staking, and the rest. So biggest misconception is that Bitcoin is not productive. It's not more than a store of value.
Thank you, Kyle. That's really insightful. And Dmitry, we have only a few minutes left, so if you can also give us the misconception from your.
Yeah, the biggest myth about Bitcoin is still volatility. People think what it's too volatile market and dangerous coin. It's of course some lack of regulation in some countries, but in countries like Japan and Korea already mentioned, South Korea, people already see what it's a good tool and good economy to invest, to hedge, to look into. Not many people here own stock market shares of Toyota or Mitsubishi, but many people already know about crypto and more people know about crypto than even about stock market. So also short prediction by 2040, I think Bitcoin and some cryptocurrencies will be a part of government plans for pensions, for savings on the government basement and government economy level. The future is bright. I'm pretty sure about it. That's why we are here. That's why we strong believers, and all will be really great.
Thank you. I also love to hear your take to wrap up our panel.
I think one of the misconceptions is also volatility. It is true that Bitcoin is more volatile than S&P 500 and commodity index. However, if you look at individual stocks like Netflix, actually in 2024 last year, Netflix realized volatility is like 10 to 50% above Bitcoin. So I think public perception towards Bitcoin volatility is larger than its actual volatility.
Thank you so much. Thanks to our amazing panelists. Thanks to you for being with us for this panel. I hope to see you again.
Thank you.
ありがとうございました。大きな拍手をお願いいたします。